So UFC Fight Night Vegas 73, Dern versus Hill, is set for this weekend, this Saturday, and I will be breaking down the entire main card because the full card is ass. I had to say it, I had to get it out at least. This card is not good in terms of name value, but starting off with Michael Johnson versus Carlos Diego Ferreira. I will be taking Michael Johnson here. I think he's kind of hit a point in his career where he's deciding he needs to make as much money as possible. And Diego Ferreira kind of feels like he's at a point where he's been on a more of a slide. And I know it's Michael Johnson. Michael Johnson has been on a slide. He's been the most inconsistent fighter in UFC history. He has beaten fighters like Dustin Poirier, but has lost to people like, I think, Clay Guida, who was in his 40s. So Michael Johnson is a very hit or miss fighter. And people might want to argue the fact that Diego Ferreira does have really good grappling, but I think it's more defensively. He has really good defensive takedown, defensive grappling, not really offensive. We saw in the Gamrot fight, his takedown defense is immaculate. It's a thing of beauty, but I don't ever see him wrestling offensively. And am I going to predict Diego Ferreira to wrestle Michael Johnson offensively? No. So this fight is mostly going to take place on the feet. And I think at this point, Michael Johnson's hands are just looking pretty nice right now. He ended up losing to Jamie Malarkey, but he damn well could have won that fight as well. He beat Mark Chikadze, who's on a tear with his grappling. I rate that win, fairly highly. And I think Michael Johnson is going to outspeed and outdamage Diego Ferreira throughout the 3 rounds. I'll probably go 29-28 decision, maybe a 30-27 in there, but Michael Johnson by decision is my prediction. Moving up, we do have Andre Fialho versus Joaquin Buckley. Now this one really interests me. If you watched my last video or one of my other videos, I did have Andre Fialho as one of my underrated fighters. I think he is very underrated, but against Joaquin Buckley, man, I do worry about his chin and where he's going to be at mentally for this fight. He's coming off back-to-back losses against Muslim Salikov and Jake Matthews. The Jake Matthews one, he got completely dismantled. I mean, we thought Jake Matthews was going to be the next guy. He looked so good in that fight. And then he fights Muslim Salikov, and I think he really felt those body shots a lot of the time. Those body shots were kind of eating him throughout the entire fight from Muslim Salikov, and I think that really kind of caused him to have a poor performance, so to speak. And then we have Joaquin Buckley, who's coming down from middleweight to fight at welterweight, and I do worry about his chin because his chin isn't always the best at times, but we know Joaquin Buckley is the freak athlete. We all saw his KO against Impa Kasanganay, when he caught the kick and then did the spin kick to his face. That was always going to be KO of the year, KO of the decade, KO of all time. But I do worry about the weight cut for Joaquin Buckley. The good thing about this, though, that this is not his first time making welterweight. I forget when he did attempt to make it. It was somewhere in the past, so this is not his first time cutting down to 170, so he might have an easier time. He does have experience in this, but I just do worry about his chin. And Andre Fialho, he has heat in his hands. He does, but so does Joaquin Buckley. And this is the battle of who has the better chin. And I don't know. I think I'm going to take Andre Fialho in this one because I think he is more accustomed to 170. And I think middleweight fighters most of them are pretty bad outside the rankings. They really just are. And Joaquin Buckley has been that guy that's been floating outside the rankings at middleweight and coming down to a division where these guys are going to be much faster, not as big, but much faster, more technical than middleweights. I think Andre Fialho might just have somewhat of an edge. Again, Joaquin Buckley cutting down, he might have a worse chin than he's had before, and his chin wasn't already the best at middleweight. And so I'm gonna go ahead and go Andre Fialho by first round KO. It would not surprise me if Joaquin Buckley does find a way to get this done throughout 3 rounds. He does have decent cardio as well, but I think Andre Fialho might be a bit too quick and too technical for Joaquin Buckley, giving him a different look than he's never seen before at middleweight. Next up, we have Emily Ducote versus Lupita Godinez. I'm taking Lupita Godinez. Kind of hard name to say, honestly. I think she kind of has this one in the bag. I think she's very, very underrated. Not like Andre Fialho underrated, but I think she's very underrated as a women's fighter. Her last performance wasn't the best against Cynthia Calvillo. It was a very close fight, but I think she just has every advantage against Emily Ducote. She has better grappling, better striking. I think she'll just really kind of just cruise a decision against this one. They both hold losses against Angela Hill, so I guess I can't hold that too much against the both of them. Emily Ducote has been out for 9 months now as well, while as Lupita Godinez has only been out for a month, so she's been more active, more in the game. I think her takedowns are really slick when she can really go for them. When her timing's down, she looks really high level for a women's fighter. So I think I'm gonna take her. I think Dakota's kind of low-key shit. 12-7, I don't know. Moving on to the co-main event, Edmen Shahbazyan versus Anthony Hernandez, Fluffy Hernandez. I think this one might low-key be my lock of the card. I don't want to commit to that just yet because Edmen Shahbazyan is very powerful, but I think when you look at really bad stylistic matchups for Edmen Shahbazyan, Anthony Hernandez checks every single box. He pushes a pace like no other, and the one thing that Edmen Shahbazyan really struggles with is, guess what? Cardio. We saw it in the Brunson fight. We saw it in the Jack Hermanson fight. We saw it in the Nasruddin Imavov fight. He doesn't seem to have much gas tank after the first round, and it's those floating ribs, man. I think, or inverted ribs that he has. It just tells me his gas tank is never going to be improved because it's just genetic. With Anthony Hernandez, his pace is crazy. I think it was his fight with, I forget who it was exactly. Let me find it really quickly. But he had a Josh Fremd. It was Josh Fremd. That was a crazy paced fight. I mean, he was going for guillotines. He would reverse position and then take Josh Fremd down. Josh Fremd would take him down. He would guillotine. It was an insane pace. And I don't think Edmen Shahbazyan will be able to keep up with that at all. Now, Edmen Shahbazyan does have a good chance and a solid chance to win. I think his best option would be, if he can stuff some early takedowns and get an early round, first round TKO, then he has a great chance. But I think Hernandez I think he's just going to be able to push a pace way too easy on him. And I kind of do want Edmen to win because he's young and he's been in the UFC for a minute and he's on the verge of getting cut sometimes with his losses. I do want him to succeed, but I just think it's such a bad matchup for him against Anthony Hernandez. And now finally, for our main event, Mackenzie Dern versus Angela Hill. Dude, she scared the shit out of me. Anyways, Mackenzie Dern versus Angela Hill. I will be taking Mackenzie Dern. I think at some point she's going to be able to get this fight to the ground. And when it does go to the ground, it's always problems. Dern's jiu-jitsu is next level. It's so high level. She's also kind of young. I believe she is 30 years of age. I think exactly 30 years of age. So she is somewhat young. And Angela Hill is an old woman. And being 38 years old is really old. I don't care what division you're in. I don't care if you're a women's fighter. Being 38 is definitely at the point where you're definitely past your prime. So I do see Angela Hill maybe carrying more injuries, not being able to train as hard because she is picking up injuries, not being able to move as well. She might even be more stiff than what she used to be. So I do see maybe some training issues because of the age for Angela Hill. And Dern, man, she just has really slick jiu-jitsu. She is very slick on the ground. I do think that she can find a way to get this to the ground if she needs to, maybe by shooting takedowns. Granted, Mackenzie Dern's takedowns are not the best. Her entries are pretty mediocre, and that's a compliment. But I do think that she can find ways to scramble Angela Hill into guard, or maybe even pull guard on Angela Hill. Like, she can find ways to get this to the ground. And I think once it gets to the ground, it's immediate issues for Angela Hill. I think that right now she's not at the pinnacle of her career, and she can definitely get subbed. I'm calling a third round sub for Mackenzie Dern. I do feel bad, and I will feel bad for Angela Hill if she does end up losing this one, because even though her record is quite stinky, 15-12, she has kind of gotten robbed a little bit throughout her career. She definitely beat Amanda Lemos, and I kind of do feel bad for her because she is losing these really close fights, and some of them are robberies. But I think Mackenzie Dern is too young, too hungry, too fast. I think Dern is trying to improve her striking game because that is a kind of a big hole in her game at the moment. But I think Dern just will be too slick on the ground, and I wouldn't be surprised if Hill is outstriking Dern for the first maybe 2 or 3 rounds and then getting caught in a sub. That's totally plausible. Hill can definitely win this one by outstriking her, but I just think that Dern is a bit more slick and capable, especially on the ground. So that's all I have for you guys today. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe, hit the bell icon, and leave your opinion down below. If you disagree with my take or my predictions, leave a comment down below and give me your own. And also, I will be streaming this card live this Saturday. You can basically watch me really enjoy Mackenzie Dern fighting, because I do enjoy her fights. If you know what I mean, you know what I mean. So I will be here this Saturday. Come say hi, hop in the chat, say what's up, man, how you doing? It makes my day. It makes me feel good as a content creator. That's all I have for you guys. Peace.